This is how I went from being a drug addict to being fully seen. Where do we begin? I mean, we begin at the top, right? I have been to rehab 3 times now. I have been in sober living. I kind of went down a dark hole. I I hit rock bottom for sure. I hit rock bottom when it came to drug abuse. And it was because on a level, which I think all addicts are looking for God. I was looking for God. And I knew I was looking for God too. I had this big God hole in my chest, the size of like the Grand Canyon in my chest. And I was trying to fill it in with drugs and alcohol and sex and clubbing and partying and all this shit that I thought would be able to fill the hole in, but it couldn't. So the only thing that was helping was when I would get high enough to talk to God. And all that meant was that my egoic mind got quiet enough to where I was outside of separation and I was really into union. And the drugs helped me get there, right? Which is why drugs are not good or bad. Drugs are definitely a tool. But when you can't access this state by yourself, then that's when it becomes an addiction. And for me, that's what it was. So I had a son in 2019, May of 2019, baby Zane. He passed away at 12 weeks. He suffocated in his sleep, and that fucked me up. Like I thought I was okay. I thought that because at this point I was already into like super non-dual teachings, understanding that I am not the separate self. I am the observer. I am the awareness. It was definitely more heady than anything. I could talk. I could talk a good talk, but when it came to like regular life, I was still very much caught up in the identity of being like Taylor, which is fine, right? So it's a part of the journey. So I will say that when he first passed away, I really tried to be strong, right? But really, I was like suppressing. I was suppressing the shit out of my feelings because I didn't understand. I didn't know how to hold the duality. I thought that being spiritual meant being good and being okay and being happy and being light. I thought that only that could exist in spirituality. So when these other emotions would come, I would like, okay, I'm gonna like, yeah, and then I would like, but I have to be happy and I have to be strong and all this other BS. So I did a lot of suppressing and I used non-duality to suppress because I'm like, oh, I'm not even a self. And like my baby wasn't even like, like who died? Nobody died because energy cannot be created nor destroyed. I literally think I wrote that in the obituary. It's like, oh, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Like I'm gonna see you again because or not even see you again, but I understand that you were a fragment of my own mind, or whatever I said, right? Just completely denying my humanity. That's why, like, when I'm talking to y'all, I want y'all to understand I denied my humanity for a very long time because I was so caught up in being no one. I was like, I am no one, I am everything. And like, fuck the body, which is the same thing that religious teaches, right? The body is a sin, the flesh is a sin. And in a lot of ways, I was like, oh, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but I'm still treating the body as a sin. Right? I'm still treating the body as a hindrance to like me evolving out of this. So yeah, when that happened, I turned to alcohol heavy. I was drinking heavy. Then I started popping E pills and I was doing that heavy. And I love E pills. Baby, I don't know if you could tell, but I'm definitely like a woo woo type of person. So maybe when I did E pills, I was a woo woo type of person. And you couldn't tell me nothing. I swear, like I was, you couldn't tell me nothing. I'll just leave it at that. I thought I was the shit. But it was only when I was high. And that became the issue. And that's always the issue when it comes to addiction is that it gives you this false sense of self that if you don't know how to access it in a healthy way outside of the drugs, then you depend on the drugs to give you that, right? That's another thing. But that's also like you getting in touch with God is you stepping into the fullness of who you are. So it wasn't even like it was giving me a false sense of self. It was showing me who I could be when I was not so identified with the egoic mind. So I was feeling like I was the shit. I was feeling like I was invincible. I was feeling like I could do anything. But it was also this like barrier of like logic completely stripped away. So I put myself in a lot of risky situations. But then yeah, One time I landed in a hospital. I woke up handcuffed to the bed. I woke up in restraints. I mean, not handcuffed. I wasn't handcuffed. I was in restraints. My arms and my legs was in restraints. And I woke up. I blacked out. I said, "What the fuck?" And I just started screaming. I was like, "Get me out of here!" Like what? I'm like, "What am I doing? Why am I here?" And they're like, "Calm down." And I didn't like the way they was talking to me. I remember this part because I didn't like the way they was talking to me. And I started screaming. I said, "Y'all treat me like I'm crazy. Y'all gonna act crazy." And I just started screaming. And then there was this one nurse. She came in and she was talking to me. I don't know what it was about her. She was an angel, but I respected her. And I said, "Okay." I said, "I'm gonna do this for you, but nobody else. Only because it's you. I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna chill out." And then after that, they ended up sending me. I literally peed on myself too. That's embarrassing. But I sat on the bed and I said, "Let me out. I have to pee." And they said no. And I said, "I'm gonna pee on myself." And I did. I laid on that bed and I pissed. And then they put my ass back to sleep. They put me back to sleep. And then I woke up again. I started going crazy. And then that was when the nurse came in. That's crazy. But I what it came down to was that I just wanted to be able to express myself freely. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be heard. I wanted to be felt. And I felt like when I was in my sober state of mind, because I was denying myself so much, I was denying myself the space to feel my very human experiences of losing a baby. And this happened in 2019. And damn, I lost the baby. That shit still sucks. Um, but it was all a part of the plan, right? And now I can say that without like, oh, it was all a part of the plan and suppressing, but like understanding that it couldn't have been any other way. And like I knew that then, but like I know that now, but it's coming from a much more grounded place of like me not suppressing my discomfort, me being able to like sit with the discomfort of saying like I lost a part of me, and that sucks. And like there's I experienced grief in a way that like you know I just experienced an immense amount of grief. I can still experience an immense amount of grief. I have a baby who's 14 months and I love her. She's beautiful. But I still think about her brother. This is Zane, her brother. I still think about her brother. Right? So feeling a well of grief. Because now I can hold my grief. I can hold that deep sadness, that pit in the bottom of my stomach. I can like swim down there and like be completely okay. And it's crazy because I used to do that before. I know I talked about it in my last video where I said, I used to make myself cry on purpose. I would play the saddest music that I could because I wanted to feel so deeply. Where it's like I got older and I got into spirituality and I stopped trying to feel because I was like, I'm not even a person. I'm not a body. I'm not a human. But then I got to a point where I said, that's also not the point. Because then you just become numb. And then you can become like you could become very nihilistic. And I was like, I'm not here for that. I'm not here to like become free from the self. Like, fuck no. I'm here for the tantric approach, right? I'm here to make love to the experience. And when you make love to somebody, like really make love to somebody, you know that in order for you to really make love to this person, it's not always good. Like you've experienced the worst of the worst of this person. You've experienced some really dark times with this person, and you still chose to love them. And that's why the love is so passionate. Because you both have took off your mask and laid bare outside of being naked, but spiritually you've laid yourselves bare. So now, when it's time to connect in that way, you make love like it's nobody's business. Like the way you make love could shake the earth, and it does because you've been vulnerable in that way. So I realized that that's what it was about, being open and vulnerable. But I couldn't see that at first. So I turned to drugs because only when I was on drugs could I be vulnerable and could I be open. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to allow myself to be seen, not even from other people, but from myself. So, anyways, I went to rehab. I have a whole video about this too, how I forgave myself, where I give a more longer story around what happened, but I won't give the full story. But yeah, I went to rehab, moved to Denver, and when I did, I was sober for a little bit. I knew I wasn't gonna stay sober because that was never my intention. I knew I didn't have a problem with drugs. I knew I had a problem with I was the egoic identity. I always knew that was the issue, and I think that's everybody's issue. But it could definitely get triggered again, right? Anyways. So I knew I didn't have a problem with drugs. I had a problem with the egoic identity. So I told them, like, I'm not about to stop smoking and drinking. I'm still gonna do that. And I did. And when I did, because I hadn't dealt with the shit, like they had put me in therapy when I was in rehab and stuff like that. But talk therapy is if you don't have the right therapist who is somatically informed, talk therapy is not helpful. So talk therapy didn't do shit for me, babes. Cause I was able to go in there and talk circles around that lady. Do you hear me? Talk circles around her. So they ain't do nothing for me. So but I went to so yeah, it didn't help. When I got out, I relapsed pretty hard. See, I was fine for a bit. Nah, I wasn't. I relapsed pretty hard, and I ended up turning to cocaine. I loved cocaine, and I would have to get high before. And this was when like my TikTok started popping. I started to like become visible, get seen, have eyes on me. When all for years people were telling me I was crazy for talking about spirituality. People were telling me like like this makes no sense. Nobody understood me. I finally felt understood in a way that I never felt understood. But I could not show up authentically. I still like it reached a point where because the eyes were on me so much, it made me feel so uncomfortable that I had to drink before I like started talking to my community, before I posted like online, before I went live. I would like drink, I would get high because I felt like it was difficult for me to be that raw and that vulnerable. I was still so attached to the egoic identity, and drugs and alcohol, which is alcohol is a drug, it loosened me up. I was like loose enough to, be in my God energy. So I went from that. I had to end up going back to rehab because it got really bad. Me and cocaine. First of all, cocaine is a fuck that drug. It don't last that long. Like it's fun, it's cool, but it don't last that long. I love MDMA though. That hits. But anyways, I love drugs. Let me tell you right now, I love drugs. Like even to this day, I love drugs because I think that it really does loosen the identity, loosen the attachment, the grip to the egoic identity. That's why I still will microdose shrooms to like if I feel like I'm getting too stuffy in my identity. It's like, oh, let me go microdose some shrooms, or like I'll have a drink or two because it's like it's nice to let loose in that way, right? That's why Jesus turned water into wine, because it knows that like when a lot of people get to drinking and like they were called spirits, because you like open yourself up and you let go this guard, right? These drugs are not good or bad. It's just how they're used. And when people are using them without doing a significant amount of work within the psyche, within the emotional body, within the spiritual world, then it becomes a crutch. The same thing with psychedelics. People take psychedelics and they're like, "Oh my god, you don't understand," and da da da. And then you talk to them a day or two later, and these motherfuckers, they out of it, like miserable, miserable. So these drugs are tools. All drugs are tools, and I love drugs. But now I use them responsibly. Like I said, I microdose shrooms every now and then when I need to like let loose and like, oh, okay, I'm getting too caught up in the egoic identity. Right before we came to Malaysia, I was microdosing. Literally, I was microdosing edibles. I hadn't did edibles in over a year, but I don't know. I just had this impulse to do it, and it was nice because it allowed like me to start thinking in this like way that I became obsessed. Like while I was doing that, I started to like dive deep in my research around the nervous system and stuff like that. And that was really nice and that was really fun. So drugs are tools, right? But I can access that without the drugs, right? I can access these states. I'm that way. I'm that obsessive. I still research like that when I'm not on the drugs. It's just something about the drugs that makes me like hyper focused, or that like really makes me lock in a way. But anyways, I'm in a country where if you even talk about drugs or doing drugs, baby, death penalty. So none of that is happening anytime soon. Uh, but yeah, let's go into how I went into being fully seen. How I was able to go into being fully seen, and it really came down to like meditating and detaching from the identity of being a separate self, and not just through like talking about it and reading books and listening to things about it, but like really being able to experience it firsthand, like making self-inquiry the most important practice, making meditation the most important practice, making mindfulness the most important practice. That is how I was able to go from being addicted and dependent to being free and being able to access states of bliss that I'd never even accessed. I mean, on psychedelics I have. I mean, and on MDMA. I ain't gonna lie, like the states you access on drugs is crazy. But I've accessed those same states on air. sober. Sober. It's this song, it's called Leave the Mind Alone. I think that's what it's called. It's like nothing to control, leave the mind alone. Don't condemn and don't condone, leave the mind alone. If you know that song, shout out to you, we best friends. But he said something like my my average vision looked like LSD. Fuck with me. Like I was like, hell yeah, that's how it is. Like when you enter those higher states of consciousness, those higher states of mind, your everyday vision gonna seem trippy as hell. Like it's hella trippy to know that like when you are looking at anything, you're looking at God. And I did drugs for so long because it allowed me to see everything as God, only to realize that I don't need drugs in order to see everything as God. It reminds me also of that Ram Dass story when he was talking about his teacher, and he was saying that Ram Dass was a psychonaut. He took a strong amount of LSD to his teacher, and he was like, this stuff is crazy, da 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 da. And his teacher was pretty much telling him like, you don't need that. He was saying, oh no, that part comes later, but he was telling him like, you don't need that. And Ram Dass is like, no, but you don't understand. It really helps, and da da da. His teacher was like, you don't need that. So he gives his teacher this like strong dose. I'm pretty sure it was Maharaji. I don't know why I always get Ramana Maharshi and Ram and Maharaji mixed up, but they're two different people. But I'm pretty sure his guru was Maharaji. So he gave Maharaji the LSD, and when he took it, he said he kept looking at him. He said at one point Maharaji turned around and just smiled at him. And he told him, he said, when you in Texas, you don't need to go to Texas. So he's like, I'm already in the state. These drugs are no different. Like these drugs ain't doing nothing to me. And that's like where I am now. It's like, oh, I'm already in this state. I'm already in a state of breaking down the barriers between myself and everything else. The drugs give me the visuals, and it could like speed up the feeling process, but very subtly but clearly, this is already seen. Dang, my hair fell out my look. Y'all like my clip? It's time for me to take my hair down. And I'm sweating, y'all. It's hot today. If y'all can notice, the leaves aren't blowing that much in the back. And also, they cut them. They came through and cut them the other day. So, yeah, I went from being a drug addict to being fully seen, being able to show up without being drunk or high or needing any mind altering substance to speak my truth, to be myself by knowing the truth of who I am. And like really making that a priority and a practice every single day when I can remember. Some days I don't remember. Some days I get to the middle of the day, or I mean that even happened earlier. I was like, I had hit the gym, and it was like I had became like lucid, like coherent, like literally lucid. I'm oh fuck. Yo, 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 what was going on earlier? Taylor, what was you doing? It's like, oh shit, I was like in it, totally in it. Not no presence there at all. Like I was aware, but I wasn't present. I wasn't conscious. I was unconscious as hell. you know. So yeah, being conscious a priority. A lot of people think that they're conscious and they think that they have free will, but will is earned. Like you don't get free will unless you practice being conscious. That's the only way you have free will. Other than that, you unconscious as hell. which is why it's important to like program the subconscious mind with the right coding, because during the day you hella unconscious. Like it's the same way in a dream. When you wake up in a dream and you like, oh shit, I was dreaming it. But you didn't know you were dreaming because you was just observing it. You're doing that now. In a lot of ways, you're just observing it, and then it's not until you wake up in another realm and you go, oh shit, I was dreaming. But the way that you can start to tap into lucidity is by being conscious, practicing consciousness. Then all of a sudden you're making intentional decisions, or seeming that way. Yo, this stuff is trippy, but it's so fun to talk about and like play with and like really seeing your experience. It's like, oh, it's all just the self. It's literally a VR headset. Oh, I'm inside of my own dream. Oh, I'm inside of the subconscious mind. Oh shit, that's cool. Oh, I'm thinking you're a person. You're not a person. I'm not a person. Oh, this is just consciousness playing out. Damn, but I feel like I'm localized here. You feel like you localized there too, don't you? But that's not happening, is it? Mm-mm. It's just awareness playing these games, and it's so brilliant at what it does. So yeah, just like being fascinated and addicted to these things, um, knowing myself, seeing God in everything in the mundane allowed me to become fully seen and start to, show up online, continue to create, build an audience like I have done on YouTube, build an audience, build a business, help other women get comfortable with being fully seen, putting themselves out there. Like all of that came and I did all that sober, completely sober. I just started dabbling with drugs again after I had Samaya. Before that, I was sober for almost like 2 or 3 years. I was sober for a long time, but then I was like, oh, I wonder if I can. And then I just started dipping and dabbling after I had my daughter, and I was like, oh shit, this is nice because I had did so much work for all those years that I'm like, I'm not addicted, but baby, it can show up. So yeah, that's all I got. I got activation sessions down below, fully seen codes. The course is coming. And last but not least, my free community is down below. It's only going to be free until the end of this month. And then it's going to be a paid membership. So if you want to join before it turns to a paid membership, I suggest joining now. That's all I got. Have I said that 3 times? Probably. Love you. Bye.